Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, my name is Vira Eka Wahyuni. So this time I will give explanation about verb. Okay, without further ado, let's jump to the video. So there are many things we are gonna learn today, but you should know the basic thing first. Number one, what is verb? Verbs are words that describe actions, whether physical or mental. Verbs are the action words in a sentence that describe what the subject is doing. Along with nouns, verbs are the main part of a sentence or phrase, telling a story about what is taking place. Every sentence needs at least one verb. If there is no verb, it's an incomplete sentence or a sentence fragment. Except for imperative sentences, a sentence also needs a subject or the thing doing the action. Number two, action verb. Action verbs, also known as dynamic verbs, are verbs that are used to explain what the subject of a sentence is actively doing. For example, run, swim, jump, move, look, and catch are all action verbs. Most verbs describe a physical action or activity, something external that can be seen or heard. These verbs are formally known as dynamic verbs, but can also be called action or event verbs. Take a look at these action verb examples in sentences. The man stretched his arm before he threw the baseball. A boy rolled down the hill on a skateboard. The kittens leapt from the table to the chair. Number 3. Auxiliary verb. Auxiliary verbs or helping verbs are used in English to change another verb's tense, voice, or mood. The main auxiliary verbs are be, have, and do. When auxiliary verbs are used, there's always a main verb that represents the main action. However, the auxiliary verb must still be conjugated correctly. Here are a few quick examples. I have eaten sushi many times before. That piece of sushi was eaten by me. Did you eat my sushi? Number 4. Modal verb. Modal is a type of auxiliary verb that is used to express ability, possibility, permission, or obligation. Modal phrases or semi-modals are used to express the same things as modals but are a combination of auxiliary verbs and the preposition to. Like other auxiliary verbs, modal auxiliary verbs are not the main verb, but they do change its meaning slightly. The modals and semi-modals in English are can or could or be able to, may or might, shall or should, must or have to, will or would. For examples, could I talk to your supervisor, please? She must be the strongest person on the team and might be the strongest person in the region. They might not buy a house at all. Number 5. Steady verbs. Steady verbs are verbs that express a state rather than an action. They usually relate to thoughts, emotions, relationships, senses, states of being, and measurements. These verbs are not usually used in continuous tenses, even though they may take on time expressions such as now and at the moment. We use the simple tenses for them. For examples, Paul feels rotten today. He has a bad cold. Do you recognize him? He is a famous rock star. Our client appreciated all the work we did for him. Number 6. Phrasal verb. Phrasal verbs are phrases that act as individual verbs, often combining two or more words and changing their meaning. A phrasal verb is a combination of words, a verb plus a preposition, or verb plus adverb, that when used together usually take on a different meaning to that of the original verb. The important thing to remember about phrasal verbs is that they act as a single verb, so you can still use them with other verbs and prepositions. These are a few examples of phrasal verb. Stand up when speaking in class, please. We'll have to wake up early if we want breakfast. Take off your shoes before you walk on the carpet. Number 7. Active and passive voice. In English, the standard format where the subject performs the action is known as the active voice. However, you can switch around your words to make the direct or indirect object the subject of the sentence, known as the passive voice. As explained in our guide to the passive voice, you can make a verb passive by adding a conjugated form of be in front of its past participle. For examples, Strickland threw the ball to Williams. The ball was thrown to Williams by Strickland. William was thrown the ball by Strickland. And lastly, we have number 8, gerunds and infinitives. Gerunds and infinitives are sometimes referred to as verb complements. They may function as subjects or objects in a sentence. In general, use the infinitives for situations that are abstract, unreal, or haven't happened yet. Use gerunds for situations that are specific, real, or have already happened. A gerund is a verb and in its present participle form that functions as a noun that names an activity rather than a person or thing. Any action verb can be made into a gerund. An infinitive is a verb form that acts as other parts of speech in a sentence. It is formed with to plus base form of the verb. For examples, in the mornings, I really like to exercise. This morning, I really liked exercising. Okay, I think that's all from me. I apologize if there's a mistake during the video. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.